Hey there, Filter Coffee Finance. So in today's video, we'll be talking about three main things. We'll talk about the pros of the CFA program. We'll talk about the cons of doing the CFA program. And we'll talk about some of the lies that you may have heard about the CFA program. So the first question that a new person may have is, what is the CFA program? The CFA charter is a three-part exam for people who work or aspire to work in the investment management industry. It is specifically designed to give you the right skills in investment analysis that will help you go further in your career. Being a CFA charter holder is considered a huge accomplishment. It requires a huge amount of work and a lot of dedication, and CFA charter holders are generally considered to be the gold standard when it comes to the field of investment management. I don't know if Benjamin Graham set up the CFA Foundation or if he just understood the need for the charter, but I'm just sharing this fun fact with all of y'all so that y'all just know how far back in history the charter goes. The first CFA exam was held all the way back in 1963, and in the last 61 years, there have only been 202,000 charter holders who have successfully completed all three levels of the exam. It just goes to show what a marathon challenge this exam can be. So for those of you wondering if the CFA charter is valuable for you, if you're considering entering the fields of investment management, asset management, maybe even hedge funds and private equity, you could consider pursuing this marathon charter. So now let's talk about the pros of the CFA program. Number one, the brand value behind being a charter holder. A lot of asset management and private wealth management firms encourage their analysts to pursue the CFA charter. This is because at the end of the day, the CFA Institute has done tremendous amounts of PR in promoting the CFA brand. Generally speaking, when clients look to give their money to an asset management firm, they'll want to give it to somebody who they know they can trust. Over a lot of time and over a lot of reputation, some of these people have ended up being CFA charter holders. Now, don't get me wrong here, okay? In no way am I inferring that CFA charter holders are a better bet to invest your money with. But all I'm saying is that having those three letters at the end of your name, the C, F, and A, will open a lot of doors for you that were earlier closed or you may not have even known existed. Pro number two. The second pro of pursuing the CFA charter is the costs involved in completing the entire course. All three levels of the program can cost you anywhere between $3,300 ranging up to $8,500, depending on whether you pass the exam for the first time or whether you opted for any coaching or other preparatory materials. If you work in a reputed asset management firm, there's a very good chance that your employer may sponsor not only your exam fees, but also any additional coaching material that you may require to pursue this program. What I'm trying to say is the CFA program is a much cheaper option than pursuing a master's in finance or even possibly an MBA. Although I would not compare the CFA with an MBA completely, it's like comparing apples and oranges, but this is a comparison that I've heard people use before as well. The third pro I would say behind pursuing the CFA program is general access to information. A lot of the people who want to break into the world of finance do not come from financial backgrounds. Some of us tend to come from the backgrounds of engineering, some of us may come from other backgrounds, maybe we took a psychology background, and at the end of the day, breaking into the world of finance requires an introductory course. There are multiple ways to go and get this introductory course. You can invest another 3 years pursuing an additional bachelor's degree, but the way I look at it is that the CFA program is a cheap, study as you go, easily accessible way to start and introduce yourself into the world of finance. You get a very generalized view of the industry, and then based on where your interests take you, you get to then choose where you'd like to work. So I would say from the sheer perspective of learning, the CFA program is a great opportunity to dip your toe into the world of finance. So now that we talked about some of the pros, let's get into the cons. What are the cons behind pursuing the CFA program? The first pro that I can think of, and the one that's hurt me the most when I pursue this program, is the time commitment. 3 hours a day for anywhere between 4 to 6 months, studying early in the morning, late after work, and sometimes even well into the night are not easy. Pursuing this program does take a tremendous amount of dedication and work. In this time, you'll have to say no to a lot of social opportunities, being able to hang out with your friends, socializing with co-workers, and even the occasional family holiday. If you're willing to pay that price, this is only the beginning. There's a second con to pursuing the CFA program, and that's the opportunity cost, which I would argue is even bigger than the time you spend studying for this program. So generally speaking, right, because the program is so intensive, what tends to happen is candidates tend to focus on just their work and only studying for this exam. Now, what I've noticed happen, because it happened in my case, is that for a period of 4 to 5 months, all I focused on was doing what my boss expected me of at work and then coming back home and studying. There were multiple opportunities at work where I could have gone for social get-togethers and networking opportunities, but I said no to them. Why did I say no to them? Because I felt that My energy would have been better focused studying and passing this exam. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, I would say that that was a cost that I was paying, which I wasn't aware of at the time. When you're early on in your career, one of the most important and essential things for anybody to do is to speak with people on their level, above their level, and way above their level and build up their network. At the end of the day, being great at your job will only get you that far. But how good you are with people and how wide your network is will really ensure that you get the best projects come into your lab and you get the best opportunities inside and outside of your company. So when you're focused on a single-minded task that is as big as the CFA, sometimes what tends to happen is you lose out on a lot of other opportunities to build your network. And if you think that these two cons are not enough, let me introduce you to con number 3. The CFA charter will not help you in your day-to-day job. Let me try and explain this in an example. Let's go all the way back to university. So in college, everyone majored in some different topic area, some different field. There are these various classes that we attended back in college and we learned so many diverse topics. How many of those topics are even relevant in your day-to-day workings in your careers? None, right? At the end of the day, when you start working in the financial industry, nobody's going to ask you that because all of that is easily accessible on the internet. And more than theoretical knowledge, you should be able to derive practical knowledge from whatever you've learned. The same thing is true about the CFA program. The CFA program is going to load you up with a lot of theory and you'll feel super smart. But none of this theory is ever going to be useful to you unless you start applying it practically in your job. And where will you ever learn how to apply theoretical subjects? By doing it practically. Don't think that at any point you will be better than somebody else in your job or in your career just because you completed the CFA program. It is not true and it's never going to be true. Now that brings us to the end of the 3 cons that I believe exist when you pursue a program like the CFA. What about some of the lies? Is everything you've heard about the CFA program true? Lie number 1. Being a CFA charter holder will not mean that people will roll out a red carpet for you to get into the world of finance. A certification course doesn't set you up to beat someone who's more experienced and more interested in what they do than you are. If you're someone who's still like early in college or late in college, I would actually suggest that if you want to break into fields like investment banking or even private equity, I'd suggest that you don't pursue a course like CFA because you're better off spending that 200 or 300 hours networking and building the right practical skills required to break into those industries. And don't get fooled. A lot of people say being a CFA charter holder makes it easier for people to move across countries. Again, it is not the general case. There may be the one-off exceptional case of a candidate who not only was great at their job but also held a CFA charter and they were offered a job in a foreign country. But it's not true that all CFA charter holders are just going to have a red carpet rolled out for them every time they enter a room. I would say that the best value add that anyone can add to their careers at any point, at any stage in their careers is to be number 1, amazing at what they do, and number 2, amazing at networking with the right people. Lie number 2, and I know I've covered this on and off throughout this video, but I want to dedicate a separate section to it. I would say that if you're stuck in a job right now and you're not able to progress forward, then pursuing another intensive course like the CFA might not be the solution for you. There might be deeper issues that you have to look inwards and try and resolve. For the third and final lie, I'd rather like to share a fact with you. Some of the best people in the world of finance do not have a CFA charter. If you think about it, the CFA program does not make you a better investor. It doesn't mean that you're smarter and it doesn't make you more valuable in any way. Just because you have some knowledge in your head, it doesn't equate to anything in the real world unless you're able to bring value to somebody. How adaptable you are in your job is a complete function of your commitment to it. I want to break this myth out there that people seem to have about the CFA program. As Warren Buffett would say, you can be highly successful as an investor without even knowing how to value an option. The same thing applies to the CFA program. If you're hungry for knowledge and you're looking for a certification course that may open doors for you, but you're also aware that you will have to network and work hard in your job on a day-to-day basis, then possibly the CFA program might be for you. But if you're someone who's struggling in their careers, feeling stuck, and looking at the CFA program as a golden bullet to solve all of your problems, maybe you should do a deeper study of why you're in this position in the first place. I realize that this week's video is a little more blunt, it's a little more frank, and it's only because of the level of question that I've been getting from a lot of people who want to pursue the CFA program. I feel that the reasoning that a lot of people have is that they look at this course as something that will solve all their problems and help them like 3x or 4x their salary in a couple of years, which is just not the case. It's just not going to happen. So as someone who's talked about the CFA program for the last 2 years and just shared his journey as he progressed through, I felt that it was very important for me to share my outlook on this. You could agree with me, you could disagree with me. If you do agree or disagree, it'd be great to hear about it in the comments down below. Anyway, thanks for watching, dear friends. Until we meet again, this is Filter Coffee Finance signing off.